The driver of this black Nissan is 47-year-old Joyce Pelzer, and she's running from the police.
Hickey, back off, back off. Hey, don't move!
About 5 hours earlier, officers found her wife, Rosalind Lewis, barely alive in a motel room in Conyers, Georgia, stabbed around 37 times. At first, police thought it was just a simple attempted murder, but it didn't take long for them to realize they were completely wrong. As the case unfolded, detectives were pulled into a web of lies, betrayal, and even the cold case of a missing woman from 7 years ago. And at the center of it all was one name: Joyce.
Who did this? Who?
Joyce. Murder for who? I think you know who.
On December 5th, police received a call claiming that a woman was planning to kill her estranged wife. Just a few days later, on December 10th, they got another call. This time it was from a man at Motel 6 in Conyers, Georgia.
What's going on there?
Okay, I have a room 114. Somebody's screaming and hollering, and he has a bloody hands I can see outside. I'm in the front office. Can you send somebody immediately? And somebody come out with a green t-shirt, green shirt with a stabbing. I think there's a stabbing. Can you send somebody immediately, officer? He's walking on the backside.
We're sending someone. You said he has a bloody hand?
He screamed somebody, he shot at some lady or something, and the one lady is walking backside to the wood.
It's a gray Nissan, pull around. It's a black gray Nissan.
There's a gray Nissan is pulling out. Which way is pulling out?
Go your way, to the left.
Okay, that's a lady.
And the male, did you actually see any physical wounds on him, or that he was just bloody?
Huh? It's a bloody. Yeah,
Where's the blood coming from?
Her body. Come on.
Okay, what part of the body is what I'm trying to figure out?
I didn't go to room yet. I cannot go to room.
And where is she at right now?
She's right here on the floor, right there in front of 114.
Police didn't waste a second. They rushed straight to the scene.
Right here, ma'am. 598 radio. She's bleeding profusely from the abdomen. I see the knife.
Rosalind was barely breathing. With around 37 stab wounds all over her body, she could hardly speak, and that made it extremely difficult for officers to get any information from her.
98 radio. She's in and out of consciousness, breathing pretty heavily at this time.
It hurt.
I know you hurt. I know, honey. But I've got lots and lots of help and lots of people that are going to come help me with you, okay?
Fortunately, the victim wasn't the only one who saw the suspect. Several other motel guests also heard the screams and saw the suspect too.
I was in room 214 with a friend of mine. I heard her screaming. We come down, and I asked the lady before she was really going out, I said, "Is this your dog?" She said, "No." I said, "Does it belong to the lady that hurt you?" She said, "Yes."
I heard her say she tried to kill me. When she said that, the broad walked right by me.
I first heard the screams. You know, if you're in a motel, you're thinking, that's what I thought, because they weren't that loud. And I heard thump, thump. Then they were getting louder, and I heard the dog. But I heard the dog, and I knew it was coming from the room. So I caught the dog, and I come back to her. She was kind of in and out of consciousness. I said, "Ma'am, what's your name?" She said, "Roz."
Roz, listen to me. You've got to hold still for me, okay, sweetie, until I can get some help here, okay? Who did this?
Joyce.
Joyce?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know Joyce's last name? Pelzer?
Joyce Lewis Pelzer, 47 years old. Joyce and Rosalind were married, but their relationship hadn't been going well in recent months. To be more specific, they were on the verge of divorce. After leaving what she described as an abusive relationship, Joyce had moved into the Motel 6. Apparently, this incident wasn't the first major confrontation between them. Rosalind had a restraining order against Joyce, which dated back to several months before the attack.
My wife is here in town. She threatened me a few weeks back here.
Your wife?
Yes, my wife.
Okay.
A few months ago, I left my wife. She was cheating. Long story short, I left, turned off everything, and the woman that she was involved with said that when I turned everything off, she went ballistic and saying how much she hated me. She wanted to knock me off and kill me and all this other. And that next morning, when she got up and I was up, she was talking again, and I was like, "Joy, the marriage is over." And she jumped up and she said, so she had a hand behind her back, she said, "Do you know I could kill you and your family right now I told her, I said, if you decide to shoot me, you make sure my black is dead. Make sure I have no breath left in my body, because if you don't, I will get you back.
That was in August. The woman Rosalind mentioned, the one her wife was allegedly cheating with, had already warned Rosalind about how angry Joyce was and what she might be planning. In fact, just a few days before the incident, that same woman had called the police to report her girlfriend's disturbing plans. But what the police still don't know is that Rosalind gave them information connected to a cold case from 7 years ago. And that info is the key to solving that old case. We'll come back to this body cam later. But now, knowing all this, let's go back to the day of the incident. With every passing minute, Rosalind's chances of survival were dropping fast. Paramedics rushed her to the nearest hospital. But sadly, despite their efforts, Rosalind died later that same day from the injuries she had suffered.
Sounds like from what she was able to say, Joyce is her wife, that is the perpetrator. So we just need to collect any documentation we can to satisfy that statement.
With the victim's name, a clear physical description from witnesses, and the make and color of the getaway car, the search for Rosalind Lewis's killer was already moving quickly. A big part of that was thanks to the motel's security footage, which captured nearly everything that happened before and after the attack. On December 8th, just 2 days before the stabbing, Joyce Pelzer was seen checking into her own room at the motel. The surveillance video shows her wandering around for over an hour, standing in the lobby, walking the first-floor breezeway, and repeatedly driving her black Nissan through the parking lot. Then, on the morning of the attack, around 10 a.m., Rosalind Lewis arrived at the motel in a black Toyota Camry. She parked and got out, unaware that it would be one of the last times she'd be seen alive outside that room. Around 10:34 a.m., motel guests heard screaming from room 114. Security footage shows a few of them rushing toward the room. Just 1 minute later, at 10:35, Pelzer, wearing a black hat and gray jacket, is seen walking out of room 114. Pelzer heads straight for the parking lot, leaving a trail of blood behind. Moments later, Rosalind collapses at the doorway, and a dog, mentioned by one of the witnesses, can be seen chasing after Pelzer down the sidewalk. While Rosalind was fighting for her life, Pelzer got into her car and sped away. Security cameras captured her making a right turn onto the highway. One brave witness followed her while calling 911 and giving live updates to the dispatcher.
I cannot see the car. There is a black car. Black Nissan.
Not long after that call, officers spotted a car matching the description of Pelzer's black Nissan driving away from the area. Inside were 2 black women, and police believed their suspect was now just within reach.
It is occupied by a female. Hey, let me see your hands. I'm going to take one person out of the vehicle at each time. Unlock the door. All right, put your hands in the air. Hands in the air. Turn around. Okay, step back here.
Keep your hands up, guys.
Okay, relax. We can get it figured out in just a second.
Okay, well, she's claiming that this girl is a Uber driver that picked them up, and that they got picked up from America's Best and never stopped by Motel 6. So they're just wrong place, wrong time?
Yeah.
Okay.
After checking the car's license plate and the IDs of both passengers, police confirmed that they had nothing to do with the incident. While police had the wrong person in custody, Joyce was still out there on the run after committing a brutal crime. And maybe for the second time in her life. Because this wasn't the first time she thought she could get away from the law. We need to go back 7 years, September 2011, in DeKalb County, where a very similar crime took place. A 35-year-old woman named Shondell McLeod went missing, right after ending a relationship she also described as abusive. When she didn't show up to work one morning, her mother called the police and reported her missing. From the start, those close to Shondell suspected her ex-girlfriend had something to do with it. And this is exactly where the lives of Rosalind and Shondell connect, because Shondell's ex was none other than Joyce Pelzer, who had just started dating Rosalind at the time. Police interviewed Joyce back then, and she told them she was at work the day Shondell disappeared. But her boss said otherwise. Joyce never showed up for her shift. Later, Joyce changed her story, saying she had spent the whole day with her new girlfriend. Still, both detectives and Shondell's loved ones remained suspicious, especially given their rocky relationship. Joyce already had a warrant for her arrest from July 2011, just 2 months before Shondell went missing, after threatening her with a knife. And in August, Shondell had called police again, this time saying Joyce had broken into her house and stolen her furniture. Not long after Shondell disappeared, her car was found abandoned, damaged, and covered in mud, but there was no other physical evidence, and the case eventually went cold. That is, until August 2018, when police got a tip from Joyce's girlfriend. She claimed Joyce had admitted to killing Shondell. Then came Rosalind Lewis, who, when she came to the station to file her own report, also mentioned Shondell's name.
At the end of the day, I have too much other going on than that there was some behind that I left you. Get over it at this point. She has some legal issues going on in Atlanta with a missing person from some years ago. She told me that the detective had reached out to her and she had talked to him, and I was like, do you have his number? Because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Because I know the girl that's missing had a restraining order on Joyce. So I wanted to call him and say, hey, what steps do I need to take to get another restraining order? And this is what's going on, because I don't know what the hell happened with the woman. I have no clue.
Now here's the strange part. We can clearly see a repeating pattern in Joyce's relationships. After Rosalind was killed and the wrong person got arrested, police kept searching all over Georgia. This time, they were determined not to let the real killer get away. At 3:15 p.m., about 5 hours after the attack at the motel, a state trooper in Crisp County, Georgia, spots a black Nissan heading south on I-75. He tries to pull it over, but the driver doesn't stop. Instead, she takes off, starting a high-speed chase. Just when it looks like they've got her, she hits the gas again and tries to escape. But this time, there's nowhere left to run. That's when they realize Joyce Pelzer isn't just carrying a knife, she has a gun. And she fires the first shot. A shootout breaks out on the highway. Pelzer is hit by one of the officers. Despite what just happened, one of them rushes in to give her first aid until the ambulance arrives. She's airlifted to a hospital in Cordele, then later moved to another facility in Macon, Georgia. That's where detectives finally catch up with her. She's hooked up to machines, tubes, and IVs. But there's no time for rest. Officers are in the room around the clock collecting evidence, blood samples, DNA swabs, and photos of her injuries. Meanwhile, back at the motel, investigators confirm that Rosalind had walked into Joyce's room that morning and never walked out. Inside room 114, they find everything they need to connect Joyce to the crime, the dog food, the camo jacket from the security footage, and more. But they still want one answer. Why? And there's another thing. They're hoping to question her about another case, the unsolved disappearance of Shondell McLeod from 7 years earlier, but with 2 gunshot wounds to the head and multiple injuries from the crash, she isn't in any shape to talk. A few days later, once she's stable, Joyce Pelzer is officially charged. She swaps her hospital gown for an orange jumpsuit.
Do I sound normal?
Yeah, I think so.
You sound like a robot.
That's okay. Why you got a tear coming down your face? Your eyes hurting at all? Can you see me okay?
They doing what?
Well, you had a tear running down. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. I know your hands hurt too. Do you understand where you are now?
Huh?
Do you understand where you are now?
I don't know what you say.
Do you know what your warrants are?
Do I know what is on?
What the warrants are for?
No. How many of them?
You got 2. You got 2 warrants.
2 warrants?
Yes. One for aggravated assault.
Okay.
And one for murder.
And murder for who?
I think you know who.
After hearing the charges against her, Joyce suddenly starts speaking much more clearly. It's like her condition improves out of nowhere. And now she decides to finally talk to the detective.
I gave you time.
I think I need to get an attorney. You talking about murder? I ain't killed nobody.
But the people close to Rosalind don't see it that way.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think happened.
Okay.
Last week, she called Rosalind. Rosalind had been ignoring her phone calls. Joy had gotten real aggressive with the call, so she answered. And she said, "What is it, Joy?" She said, "I'm happy and you have some, well, you're happy and you have someone. I'm happy and I have someone." That's the only thing that I can see set Joy off, because her response to Rosalind is that I'm going to kill both of you.
As police kept talking to people close to Rosalind, they started to understand why the 2 of them had to be together that day. And Rosalind's new girlfriend told the detectives what really pulled her to that motel. even with all the fear and threats.
So as far as y'all were aware, she was not communicating with Joy?
She was talking to Joy, but it depends on who you may ask. She would not always be open saying that she's talking to Joy.
Yeah.
But we all know that.
Whether it was just texting or whatever.
But Rosalind's murder isn't the only thing they want answers for. They also need more details about what really happened to Shondell 7 years ago.
How someone goes missing 2 days after you file a push protective order.
There are still different opinions about what really happened to Shondell. Some believe that Rosalind wasn't as clueless about Shondell's death as she pretended to be.
I think, and I want to think, but I think she probably knew what happened. I think that's the only way, and she was the only person who could. Because when the girl was missing, her house was together.
But things get even stranger when you realize this is exactly what Joyce herself claims. She says that 7 years ago, during the disappearance of her ex-girlfriend, it wasn't her trying to get rid of Shondell. It was actually Rosalind Lewis who had that intention. But Rosalind's family and the detectives never believed that, and one major reason was the fact that Joyce had suddenly moved from Atlanta to North Dakota.
It seems like a strange move to me, for sure.
North Dakota. And then why did you come back? I still don't understand what brought her back.
Joyce's new girlfriend, the one who called the police in August 2018, told them something even more disturbing. She claimed that not only did Joyce confess to killing Shondell, but that Rosalind was also involved in the murder. According to her, Joyce had been planning it for months, and Rosalind helped her carry it out, even going as far as to hire a hitman together. Aside from what Joyce and her girlfriend said, detectives never found any solid evidence connecting Rosalind to Shondell's disappearance. But as the investigation moved forward and more evidence was gathered, they finally had enough to tie Joyce Pelzer to Shondell's murder. In 2021, Joyce was sentenced to life in prison for the fatal stabbing of her wife, Rosalind Lewis. 2 years later, she was back in court, this time for the cold case involving Shondell McLeod. Joyce took the stand and admitted to helping bury Shondell's body, but claimed the murder was planned and carried out by her ex, Rosalind. Police searched the area where Joyce said Shondell was buried, but no body was ever found. Her lawyer argued there wasn't enough evidence to convict her, but the jury disagreed. On December 1st, 2023, more than a decade after Shondell's disappearance, Joyce Pelzer was convicted a second time, again sentenced to life in prison without parole. She'll spend the rest of her life behind bars, but nothing can ever bring back the lives her actions took.